in this video, we are going to be teaching you how to dink. If you're new to pickleball or just learning, this is the video for you. We're going to be teaching what's a dink, the proper technique, how to learn how to dink in 3 steps, drills you should do, and more tips that can improve your dinking game. So let's get started. What is a dink? A dink is when you are hitting the ball into your opponent's kitchen. Now, a lot of times we receive a lot of players that have different backgrounds in racquetball, squash, tennis, and they're like, why do I have to do this thing called dinking? Number one, it's called dinking, which sounds weird. And number two, why can't I just smash the ball? Why do I have to hit the ball into the other person's kitchen? Well, what's the number one rule with pickleball? You can't take the ball in the air without a bounce when you are inside the kitchen. So what can I do? I can't stand in the kitchen and smash it down. So by dinking, that eliminates my opponent from taking the ball out of the air and smashing it down. If you dink to somebody, that's going to force your opponent to have to hit the ball up over the net because it's on the bounce, instead of having the ball in the air and just allowing your opponent to smash the ball down. So dinking neutralizes your opponent. Once again, dinking neutralizes your opponent. And that is why you need to dink, and that's why it's the number one thing in pickleball. Essentially, the whole game of pickleball is everyone gets to the kitchen, you dink, you dink, you dink, until someone pops the ball up a little bit high, they make a mistake, you smash it down, you win the point, and the point's over. That's how pickleball works. So how do we dink? Well, the number one thing that you want to make sure is that your feet are at the kitchen line. This versus this is such a big deal. So number one, start on the right foot, no pun intended, and get up to the kitchen line, okay? Make sure you are a ball's length behind the kitchen line, okay? Now, once you're up at the kitchen line, I want you to notice my body. My body is facing forward. My hips are square. I'm not turned to the side. I don't have a super out wide stance. My body is facing forward and my feet are about hips width apart. This is a big thing. A lot of players, they stand like this, they're super narrow and it's hard to be balanced, or players, they stand super wide and they can't move to the ball. You want to be about hips width apart, okay? Now, once I get my feet in the proper position, I want to make sure that I'm not standing up straight. I'm a little bit in my legs. The reason why, so I can push out to the right or I can push out to the left and I have balance. Now, once I'm in the proper position, okay, so up at the kitchen line, hips are facing forward, a little bit of my legs, feet around hips width apart. Now I'm going to work on my paddle. So our feet are starting off in the proper position, and I am all about starting in the proper position. Now we're going to get our paddle in the proper position. So not only do I want my feet there, but also when I start, I want my paddle up and out in front away from my body. Start in the proper position. This is how I want to be, guys, with the paddle. I don't want to be down here. I don't want to be up here. I want to be right here so I can be ready to go for my dink. Too many players, their paddle's down and then they have to move it over. If it's too high, they go down. I want to be in the proper ready position. So pause this video if you need to. This is the proper ready position while you're waiting for your dink. My hands aren't close, my hands aren't super far. They're out in front, away from my body. My elbows are a little bit out, and my hips are facing forward. Now, after I'm in the proper position, I'm ready to go. So after I start out, this is step number one, guys. This is the proper ready position. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my paddle down. So I'm going to start out in front and drop my paddle down. Notice when I drop my paddle down, I drop the paddle in front of my body. This is a huge thing. You always want to make sure when you're dinking, you're making contact in front of your body. Too many players, where they go wrong is they make contact behind them, to the side, under their legs, right? No, I want to make sure contact is out in front of my body. So step number one is proper ready position. Now step number two is you're going to drop your paddle down. Now this is a big thing. When you drop your paddle down, you need to make sure that your palm is facing forward. I will say that one more time. When you drop the paddle down, you need to make sure that your palm is facing forward. Too many players, where they go wrong is they drop their paddle down and their knuckles are facing forward. Let me show you again. Right, wrong, right, wrong. If it's wrong, my knuckles are facing forward. If it's right, my palm is facing forward. The reason why I want my palm facing forward is so I can proceed with a good swing. A lot of players, when they start out, they always have their knuckles forward, and I can't extend, I have to flick it, okay? So ready position, step number 2 is palm facing forward, kind of like I'm fielding a ground ball in front of my body. It's not here again, it's not here, okay? So now, ready position, palm facing forward. Now, step number 3 is you want to make sure that you go up and you extend throughout your arm and shoulder. You want to make sure that you swing. Ready position, palm down, step number 2, and now we're going to talk about step number 3, which is this. This is going to be your actual swing for the dink. Notice when I do my swing for step number 3, all I'm doing is I'm moving through my arm and my shoulder. Ready position, palm facing forward, extend through your arm and shoulder. Notice when I extend and I freeze, I'll face you. Where is the tip of my paddle facing? And the tip of my paddle is right here. I want to pretend that there's a laser. Where is my laser facing? My laser is facing towards where I want to hit. By pointing the tip of your paddle to wherever you want to go, that ensures that you have the proper swing path, that ensures that you have the proper follow through, and that ensures that you locate your dink where you want. So by doing this, that means, okay, I am finished. Once you end like this, that means congratulations, user 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have completed your dink and you can move to the next ball. Why do I say, or why am I emphasizing this so much? Because a lot of players, when they start out in pickleball, they start going like this, they try to dink like this, they stop it, they go here, they're moving their wrist because they come from tennis or they come from squash. No, you need to make sure that you don't move your wrist, you extend and point the paddle. So ready position, palm facing forward, and then we're extending the tip of the paddle towards wherever I want to hit, and I'm extending through my arm and my shoulder. A big not to do. Again, you don't want to stop it. You don't want to think that you're sauteing, you're flipping burgers, right? You want to go forward and throughout the shot. You don't want to just move with your wrist. You don't want to move with your elbow. You want to move with your arm and your shoulder. Remember, and this is going to be really odd when you're picking up the game of pickleball. In pickleball, to gain control, you have to give up control. The more you let the paddle work for you, and the less you work for the paddle, the better it's going to be. A lot of players, when they start out, they will either move their wrist because they come from prior racket sports, so they'll go like this or like this. How do we solve that? How do we fix it? By learning, point the tip of the paddle, right? Or they'll just want to get the ball in and they'll stop it. Notice, when you stop it, you're going to pop it. Once again, when you stop it, you're going to pop it, and your opponent's then going to end the point. You're going to pop the balls up in the air if you hold the paddle short. You need to keep the paddle super long. The dink is a stroke. It's not a block. It's not a dot. It's a woo, right? It's like a music note, right? It's got like a couple more than just one beat. It's not staccato. It's a super long note. You want to let it go. Now, how do we ensure that we let it go, and how do we ensure that we don't pop it up? And how do we ensure that we keep the ball in the kitchen? Doesn't make sense, right? If I'm extending and I'm going super long, how am I supposed to get the ball in the kitchen? There's only such a short distance. It's very easy. You need to make sure you hold the paddle loose. Just like if you stop it, you're going to pop it. If you hold it tight, it's not going to be right. If you hold the paddle super tight, what's going to happen is when you do your long stroke, just like I taught you to do, the ball's going to go long, and you're going to comment on this video and say, Tyler, that was absolutely horrible. Your tips, they don't work. I'm trying to dink. I'm extending through the arm and shoulder. I'm not going with the elbow. I'm in the proper ready position. I'm putting my palm facing forward, but my balls are still going long every single time. And the reason Why, again, is because you're holding it super tight. On a scale 1 to 10, 1 being the loosest, it's flying out and hitting my opponent, 10 being the tightest, you want to be about a 2 or a 3. Now, how can we ensure that we're not holding the paddle tight? And when you start out, guys, you're going to be holding the paddle tight. Why? Because you're going to be thinking about all these things that I just taught you, that your coach is telling you, that you're going to be trying to get the ball in with your friend who's maybe played pickleball a couple times before, and you're going to want to get the ball in. So what are you going to do? You're going to go fight or flight, and you're going to grip it too tight. It's going to happen. You need to make a mental effort to hold that paddle loose. And again, everyone's going to start out tight. How do we ensure that we don't hold it tight? A great exercise to do is, instead of gripping the paddle full force, you're going to hold the paddle with your index finger and your thumb. So when I dink, again, I'm going to hold the paddle with my index finger and my thumb. Now, I'm going to lose a ton of control by doing this, but it's going to teach me, again, to not grip the paddle tight. It's going to give me that muscle memory, that feel. Another thing that you can do is you can squeeze your dominant wrist with your non-dominant hand. By squeezing my wrist with this hand, this is my favorite exercise, it's going to make sure that I don't grip the paddle super tight. My mind is going to be focusing on this, so I'm not going to squeeze this. So you're going to go out, and again, you're just going to dink, and you're going to squeeze your wrist, and you're going to get that muscle memory for being loose. Now, you can do this with a partner, or you could do it by yourself. Just go out and do one, squeezing the wrist and dinking, then another one without the wrist. One squeezing the wrist and dinking, one without the wrist. That is the exercise for you to do, or grip the paddle with the 2 fingers, and you're going to be much better off learning that looseness. Now, this is for a beginner. Clearly, when you progress in pickleball, you're going to be making dinks here. You're going to be doing topspin dinks, slice dinks, backhand drops dinks, push dinks, all these different types of dinks. But this is how you learn how to dink when you're just starting out in the game of pickleball. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, we're going to keep it going, and we're going to be teaching you where to dink in the next video for beginners. If you guys enjoy this, make sure to click the link, join our meetup, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to us on YouTube, and we'll see you next time on court. And make sure you keep on watching and learn how to play pickleball at a beginner level. Have a good one, guys, and I'll see you next time on court.